Y'all, this episode of 1,000 Pound Sisters gave me everything that I needed and more. Did you all know that Michael could talk in complete sentences? Because I was unaware that he could do that. I was sitting here towards the end of the episode in complete shock because this is the most that I think that I've heard Michael speak in 5 whole seasons. I cannot wait to get to that part. We learned a lot of things during this episode. Still, to me, doesn't excuse some of the things that Amy has done, but it did give me a little bit of insight as to where they are now. But let's go ahead and get this video started. Tisha here. Welcome back for another review. This video is sponsored by Simply Mixology. It's really not sponsored, but guess I'd share what I'm drinking. It's really good. And I needed it in part because it was so much going on. And I said, it's a little too late for me to have an actual cocktail. So let me fake myself out and have a mocktail. If you like drinks that aren't overly sweet, this is the drink for you. Okay, so it's the day after the whole situation happened last episode with Amanda and Amy. And Tammy feels like Amy really overreacted with the eye joke. She said that being here for this short time has reminded her of how much drama her family brings around sometimes. So now she's finding that she's going to have to get reacclimated, not just to being in a different environment and being home, but also to her family. Chris comes over to check on Tammy as well as take her grocery shopping. He said that one of the reasons why he wanted to check in on her because he knows that she's struggling a little bit since leaving her husband, Caleb, and that when they had made a pit stop at a gas station, when him and his wife came back to the car, that Tammy was crying extremely hard, and he figured that it had to do something with her missing her husband. She didn't want to talk about it in the time in the car. He wanted to make sure that she had some space and some time to process it. But the fact that it had been such a short period of time and she was already feeling some of those emotions did have him concerned. So Chris wants to make sure that they actually do talk about it because he said Tammy in the past would have a tendency to bottle up her feelings and he doesn't want her to resort back to what she used to do. Tammy admits to him that she does miss him, but what she would like to do is to keep herself active and do things that keep her mind off of missing him. So she thinks that she wants to have kind of like a redo of a welcome home party, but call it a housewarming and invite some friends and some family. That way she can see everyone as well as keep her mind off of Caleb. I think it's a good plan, but at the end of the day, once everybody's gone, I'm sure she's still gonna miss him. We then see them head out. And Chris says, Tammy, instead of being in the back, this time I think you should get in the front. And she's worried about how she'll fit with the console and stuff like that. But Chris is like, you should be able to fit. The main thing would be to close the door. We see Tammy walk out and she gets in the front seat and the door is closed. Every single time I see Tammy do something that she could not do before, I feel like I'm watching a friend or a close family member sit there and accomplish one of their goals because I find myself being just as excited for her and I cannot help but want to root for this girl. She talks about how now every little thing that she couldn't do previously to her is a new experience and it's allowing her to see things from a different point of view. We see her go shopping where she is in a wheelchair that Chris is able to push without struggling. She's grabbing a bunch of healthy stuff, a little unhealthy stuff like some cheese, but nothing major. She says that she knows that it's going to be a challenge for her because at the facility, they did all that for them. She didn't have to shop. They did the shopping and they did the cooking and preparing meals. But now she has to do it for herself, but she's ready for the challenge. We even see at the end of the trip that Tammy takes several steps from the store to the car. These are things that we would have never seen Tammy before. Tammy would have been hollering about that wheelchair. Somebody would have had to push her all the way to the vehicle, and she complained. So I'm like, go Tammy. Okay. Amy heads over to Tammy's house where she's going to help her get set up for the party. She's brought Glenn and left the bad kid with his granny. Y'all just going to have to be mad at me for calling him bad, but that's what he is, and it's his parents' fault. She walks in with free Tammy hats and a unicorn piñata. Tammy said that she thinks the hats are cute, but instead of saying free Tammy, she wishes it said Tammy is free. And I do too, because I was like, okay, free Tammy makes me think of Free Willy. Tammy wants for everything to go well, and she's hoping that everyone gets along at her party. Amy then apologizes for how she left the other day. She said, you know, Tammy, I'm sorry for acting like a 2-year-old, and she was. She said that, you know, there were other things going on and how she was busy in the morning and getting ready for Tammy to come home. And it was just a lot of stress. I'm not saying that Amy doesn't have things going on, but what we saw that day was not Amy preparing for Tammy. We saw Amanda and her children preparing, as well as at some point them helping Chris get the ramp together. We saw Chris and his wife get in the car and drive several hours to go get Tammy and then come back. But Amy is the only one who threw the tantrum. Tammy told her that she wishes that she tried harder not to have that type of outburst, but she understands that she's going through a lot. She apologizes for being a burden and says, I know you have a lot on your plate, and I'm sorry if I've added to that stress. You were trying to get me home and get the things I needed. And I'm like, okay, this is so much so a different Tammy, because the old Tammy definitely should have made apologies for the way that she used to demand and want things. But this new Tammy, I don't feel like she should be apologizing for that. I'm not saying she isn't asking things of Tammy, but it's just not, of Amy, but it's just not Amy who's doing things. It's the whole family. And Amy could very easily say no, but I get it. She just wanted her to know basically that she appreciates her and she hopes she's not adding on to her plate too much, which I can respect, because the old Tammy would have never said that. Amy says, you're thinking you're a burden, but she's not. I think Amy forgets that for several years we've heard of her say all these negative things about Tammy, and she has complained about how much she has to do for Tammy and that Tammy basically is a burden. So you may have not considered her one now, but at some point you did. So even when she was at the facility and she was talking about leaving and coming home early, you didn't want her to because of the burden she would be. So I can see why Tammy will want to make sure that she wasn't causing more weight on you. We see Chris. We find out he's cooking meat. Well, we don't see Chris, she tells us. Tammy in the meantime is making a charcuterie board. And of course, the board then becomes a paddle because the sisters are going to play. I will admit, I do love seeing the lightheartedness of them. Kind of reminds me of old times, and they do make me laugh. Tammy says that she's taking this healthy stuff seriously, and as they're sitting there pulling pickles out, we're hearing about dark and light pickles and the shapes and sizes, and Tammy is doing a great job with her board. But I cannot help but see her using her hands to pick the pickles out the jar, and then the fork with the olives, and I can't help but being like, ooh, I wish they would have let us see her wash her hands. Y'all, it's just me. Don't mind me. I'll be in my own home preparing things for myself and my son, and I'll have on gloves. It's just something I do. I can't help it. Anyways, I wanted to see her wash her hands. We then have Caleb. Don't judge me. We then have Caleb. It's been a week since Tammy left rehab, and Caleb is effing up. We see him over there stuffing his face with it looked like spaghetti, and spaghetti has a lot of sauce and carbs and sugar, and we know that Tammy wants him to hurry up and come home, but he's saying that he's missing Tammy so much that as a result, he's eating a lot. If you miss Tammy, use that as your motivation to do what you're supposed to do so you can get that trach removed. I don't know what type of rehab place this is. I said it before, but me personally, I wouldn't want to send my family there because they have long-term residents that are extremely large. And I feel like they're not doing their job at this place because the people look like, some of them look like they've gotten even bigger. I don't know. Dr. Now would never, like ever. Hey there, Caleb. He wanted to know what he would have looked at Caleb and been like, Caleb, what do you have on that plate? Take that off. You're not supposed to have those carbs. Take those off. Oh, okay, you can keep those little vegetables there. Wait, did they come from the bag? They don't have any fresh vegetables back there. I love Dr. Now. He admits to not telling Tammy the bad stuff, like him emotionally eating. And at some point, he's going to have to tell her. We then are back at Tammy's where she's awaiting for everyone's arrival. Amanda and Misty are the first to come in. They all head to the kitchen. Amanda says that she is not talking to Amy since they got into it the other day, but she does not want to cause any issues at this party. We see Amy pull her to the side, apologize to Amanda for how she acted, and told her that it didn't have anything to do with Amanda, which Amanda is aware. She says because of a lot of things going on. She said that she doesn't want to blame her postpartum because it's been 7 months. Now, whether it's been 7 months or not, postpartum happens at various points. So I don't think Amy should be hard on herself if that's what it is about the postpartum. But Amanda points out that she thinks it's more depression than anything. And she says it's because she's not happy with her current circumstances, which mainly happens to be Michael. So apparently, not only does Michael not help out with the kids, y'all, but Michael doesn't work. I thought we were told in the beginning Michael had a job because remember, Amy said the sody pops, whatever she calls them, were for Michael for when he goes to work for his lunch. So Michael don't work anymore. Not only does he not work, but he doesn't help with the kids. You don't work and you don't want to help with the kids. But you have my money in your wallet. So TLC and their disability, because I think Michael on disability too. Even though he said a lot this episode, something's still not right with him. TLC and disability check is paying their bills. She normally said that she doesn't have time for herself, and he's usually around. Amy speaks on how hard it is for her to wear multiple hats, and she's trying to figure out who she is as a person. I personally feel like you should have tried to figure out who you were before you decided to have multiple children. I'm not knocking children. Children are a blessing, but children have never been known to make things easier. And you had not one, but two. She said that she doesn't have support from Michael, so she's thinking about getting a nanny. Even though she does not work, she needs a nanny. It's weird to me. The family as well as friends come. Everyone is embracing her, telling Tammy how proud they are of her, how good she looks, how small she looks, how this is the smallest they've seen her, and things of that nature. But Tammy points out that her mother has said nothing. And then Tammy makes the announcement, like, to her mother, that you told me that I would never make it this far. She says, 5 years ago, when I started this, you said I wouldn't be able to do it. Her mom says, 5 years ago, I said you will never be able to do it. And I'm so proud of you that you made me a liar. When I first heard her say that, I found myself getting a little teary-eyed because you could see how proud her mother was of her in that moment and how she kind of struggled to say it out at first. Her mom hasn't seen her in over 1.5 years, and she's never seen her go this far. She talks about the difference that she sees in Tammy and how before she would have these diets, get a little success, and then she would gorge afterwards. So she thought that this was just going to be that cycle all over again, but this time she stuck with it. There is obviously a lot of hurt there because initially, even though Tammy's mom is kind of complimenting her on what was done, you can see that Tammy didn't initially receive it as a compliment. She then speaks about the love-hate relationship that she has with her mom, but how it did feel good to be able to prove her mother wrong and show that she's not a complete failure. We then see them getting to eating. We see barbecue, chicken, burger, pork chops, and steaks. Chris talks about how he tried to cut some corners and make it a little bit more healthy, but he did want Tammy to enjoy herself because she's been eating facility food this whole time. So he talks about the sauce, how he didn't use certain sauces and some other things like that. And the people were tearing the food up. Chris then brings out a nice picture of Tammy, and they're going to play pin the trach on Tammy. It was funny, and the trach from afar did look like a penis. We then start hearing different conversations about penises and seeing them talking with the mics overhead, and Amy's over there doing like that to the mic. It's a bit much. You know, Amy's going to take it to whatever level it is, because to her, the microphones look like penises too. Amy is next. She says she shouldn't have to wear a mask because she's already blind. So just like that, she's over the eye jokes and she's back to joking at it. At some point, Amy has to leave. I guess Michael texted her or called her or something to go get Gage. I don't understand why he couldn't do it since he was supposedly at home not feeling well, but I don't know. Anyways, she's been crying about being a single parent and about barely making it. This is what she's talking to somebody, a family member, out. She's leaving out the door. And I'm like, okay, girl, you better utilize your village, your siblings and your family, because they are around you and they're willing to help you. So don't turn this into something else at the party. She's crying more. Tammy notices it, but Tammy isn't bothered by it completely because Tammy says that she's probably crying again because of Michael, that at this point, it's only a matter of time before the bomb erupts, before the volcano erupts, explodes. Like it's only a matter of time because things have been a problem for some time. She says she doesn't know everything, but she knows that something is going on. All right. It's the next day, I'm assuming, or a few days later. Amy is at her home talking about hiring a part-time nanny to help her clean her house and take care of the boys. Let me be clear, and I'm going to say this a few times. Amy, before she even had those children, was messy and lazy. So we're not going to act like it's just because she had 2 kids that she got lazy. Because she's been messy. That's always been the case. She wants to find herself outside of being a mom. We see the oldest boy crawling across the dining room table. She's talking about how he's in his terrible 2s and he started them before he even hit 1.5. She said it's no telling what he's gonna do in the effed up 3s. It's not about what he's going to do. It's about what she's going to do as a parent. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you guys something. The best advice, other than my mom telling me to make sure that I don't keep the house too quiet with the baby, don't make him get accustomed for it to be silent in order for him to sleep and things of that nature. The other good thing that my mother told me was not to move stuff around. So my glass table and my figurines and my DVDs or whatever else that I had out when my son was little, they stayed out. Because sounds like, no, stop it, work. They work. And the problem is, it seems like Amy them were so excited about having Gage that they didn't teach him boundaries. because kids are really smart, especially now. It's like every year that a child is born, they do things at such a quicker level and so much faster than the kids the year before. So you could have easily taught him the word no and got him to listen, but he is running that house. So the sisters come over to help assist her finding a nanny, including Tammy, who before never was willing to walk in her home. She didn't want to approach that step. And here we see Tammy not hesitating to go in. Tammy then admits that before, the only reason why she didn't go into Amy's house was because she was lazy. And now she's willing to try anything. I love to know what clicked for Tammy that caused her to make this type of change, because Tammy has officially redeemed herself as my favorite. This emotionally healed version of Tammy is so refreshing, and I want her to continue to do the things that she's doing to be a better version of herself. Back to Amy. She wants help, which is why she wants the part-time nanny. She says Michael is for getting a nanny. Of course, of course he is, Amanda points out. So Amanda says she really doesn't need a nanny because she has Michael. He's there, but he isn't a dad because he doesn't help out and he's not supporting the kids. We see Amy begin to film the video. Her oldest is distracting her. She then starts crying because the kids are running around and she can't handle it, and she's exhausted and she's hurting from trying to take care of two boys in the house and being a mom and taking care of her mom. And I'm like, okay, when did her mother get added to this equation? And why are you taking care of her? Hire somebody, or you siblings switch off, because it seems like you all live near one another, so switch off. She said she was good before Glenn came, but now everything is just overwhelming. Amanda tells her she's not the only parent and that Michael needs to be helping her so she can have time for her. Tammy suggests that Amy just goes out with the sisters tonight so that she can kind of, get away for a little bit. Amanda calls Michael to be a part of the process of getting a nanny. She wants him to hold the thing to record Amy. Michael is about to record her, and she's like, wait a second, what do you want me to ask for the kids? And he's like, help with kids. So she says, can you elaborate? Now, Amy wants to sit here and act like this man has been a person of many words, when for as long as I can remember, everything has been like one word or two word answers. When have we known Michael to elaborate? Even in the argument, he seemed like he was struggling a little bit. Amy then says, you got to do something because I need some help. I can't keep going like this. Now, I'm not sure if she was talking to Michael or if she was talking to Amanda. Let me know down below. But in that moment, Amanda starts speaking. Amanda says you have to do better about supporting her. When she's like this, you're going to have to take the kids away to give her a minute. She then goes on saying, when I walk in here, I see a messy house, yes, but I also see that my sister has no energy to get up and clean and do dishes because she's depressed. I need Amanda to not sit there and act like because of these two kids, all of a sudden Amy is lazy. And we know when there was one baby, the house was a mess. Y'all remember what happened at the old house when they had to bring those people in there to clean the house, and we saw roaches and whatever else crawling all over the place, and the stove was a mess, and it was old chili in the pot, and then it was eroded in the top, and the baby was sleeping in the living room, even though Amy had a whole nother bedroom, because not only was she a mess, but she was low-key a hoarder of certain things that had droppings and stuff on them, and she wanted to, like, I don't know, try to keep some of them. So Amy is a mess, not just because of these kids. She said she has no energy except for the kids to clean them and feed them. Amy said that this is the purpose of her having a nanny. And she says that she wants the nanny so the nanny can help take care of them so she can go to therapy. She said Michael has told her that she's not allowed to go anywhere without her kids. Amanda says that's BS. Amy says that she can't leave both kids with Michael because he cannot handle them. Apparently, neither can Amy. Michael agrees to start helping. She asks if she can go out with Tammy and them tonight if she brings both kids. Amanda says that she was going to go to Sam's Club and, bring Amy along or whatever. And Michael said, well, I wanted to go to Sam's Club tonight too. I said, oh, Michael. Amanda says, y'all spend so much time together. Y'all need some time apart. She says she doesn't want them to go through the same thing that she went through with Michael's brother. Apparently, Michael, we find out, keeps all of Amy's credit cards and stuff in her wallet, and he's the one who's in charge of spending. There's a lot more to this story than we were being told. The fact that all of this was being sprung in one episode is a lot, which makes me feel like this season is going to be very good. She says she has to ask permission to spend her own money, and she'll get in trouble sometimes if she doesn't. She just feels like she wants to walk away with her boys because she's so frustrated about everything. They go to commercial break. We come back from commercial break, and Amy is standing outside with her jacket on smoking, saying that he will not give her her bank card. He doesn't want her to go without him. Amanda goes in the house to get the diaper bag and to get the kids. And we see Michael and Amy arguing because he said he just wants to be the one to take her shopping. Amy says, you take me shopping every day. Why can't I spend time with my sisters? She wants her card. He says he ain't giving her ish. I said, oh, not Michael. And he said it with a lot of, I never knew that Michael could formulate that many words. I just was like, oh, Amanda says you have 2 seconds to give her her debit card. And Amy says, no, you have 2 seconds to get your ish and get out my house. He wants to bring one of the boys with him as like an insurance. And Amanda says, no, she ain't having it. Amanda walks up on him, says you ain't taking ish, give her the car right now and leave. As they're going back and forth, Tammy's like, to hell with that. I'm not going to sit here and watch y'all go back and forth. I'm calling the po-po. 5-0. Where you at? Her husband is irate right now, and I need you to come here. She didn't say that, but she told him to come on. So Amy says, I'm going to pack me and the boys up, and I'm going to leave if you don't get out of here. She's done. All of this because she wanted to go out with her sisters. He then tells Amanda to get out of his house. Amanda says, make me. And that's when we see Misty get in the middle of towering Amanda and Big Belly Michael. And she's in between them. Michael wanted him and Amanda to get into it. And he wanted Amanda to hit him so he could press charges. Because you hear him saying, hit me. Put your hands on me. Put your hands on me. He says again to get out his house, and Amanda says, put me out this mother effer, do it. And I was like, oh my God. Tammy then talks about how she didn't know coming home everything would fall apart, and we see Amy sitting on the floor bawling. I am all for Amy's sister supporting her. But you have to be careful about how much you involve your siblings in these type of situations. Amy is very capable of speaking up for herself. And it seems to me like until Amanda was there, she wasn't as bold as she felt in this moment. Maybe her sister gave her a different type of strength. But Amanda got to be careful because at the end of the day, he could cause you to lose your cool, and you could hit him and it could turn into something else. Unfortunately, hopefully it doesn't get any worse than what we just saw. But I gotta admit, I did enjoy every moment of it because I said, okay, now we're getting down to it. I say that Amanda needs to be careful, but the truth is, if some man was all up in my sister's face and trying to hold her bank card hostage, I probably would have been bossed up too. I'm just saying, I got to be real about it. You all, if there's something that I did not talk about, please put it down in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to respond. Please like the video if you have not already. Subscribe. If you've been here more than once, it's time for you to subscribe. I'm going to be here all season long, which according to HBO, this is season 5, and TLC, this is season 5. But for some reason, Philo, which is how I watch this, says that it's season 4. So I'm going to say season 5, and I guess Philo will fix itself eventually. Until next time.